It's Rog, and I'm not a doctor, but I think I got myself a nasty case of Concacaf Nations League fever. And I know I'm not alone. Symptoms are really rather wonderful. Palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy, something, mum's spaghetti. But Thursday night in LA, the United States men's national team are about to play a game that means something. Or something-ish. We face Panama, Los Canaleros, a slot in Sunday's final against either Mexico or Canada lies ahead. This tournament, it's essentially hockey's Four Nations face-off, played on grass, and with Weston McKennie and Tyler Adams in the role of the Tkachuk brothers. And to break it down, it's a joy to welcome a man who is intimately familiar with all of this. I like to think of him as the proctologist of CONCACAF, former US men's national team and Liga MX striker from ESPN, where he hosts Football Americas, also as my friend and our partner on Vamos on the Men in Blazers Media Network. It is magical to welcome live from Los Angeles, hola, Mr. Hercules Gomez.
Raj, I am going to use that, the proctologist of CONCACAF. I'm gonna coin that for myself. I actually like that one.
I need to get you a mug that just says proctologist of CONCACAF. Oh, and the doctor's office is open. It's always open. Got to snap on a glove to start the podcast.
Oh, please. Gloves are a must. Absolutely.
You're back in Los Angeles, Herc. I'm actually flying out tomorrow. Tell me, are the streets of downtown LA just the swamp with CONCACAF fever? Is the whole city going mad for it?
Well, there's a swamp of something. CONCACAF fever is out there. I'll tell you that much. You know what's funny? Every time I go somewhere, it's always interesting to see if there's any buzz. Right? Because I've been places and big events are going on and there's no announcements in the city and, you don't know what's going on. Well, a few days ago, I took the kids to Disney and I'm driving out and not just in the places you would assume you would see CONCACAF Nations League Final Four announcements, the Dignity Health Sports Park or the, BMO Field where LAFC play. On interstates, you're seeing announcements for the Final Four. So at least the city's doing its part. We're going to see what the buzz is about. The buzz in this tournament kind of comes and goes with the Mexican national team. And the Mexican national team has been going as of late more than it's been coming. They've not exactly brought in the people to feel good about their team. So I'm hoping right now that the buzz of the U.S., the buzz of Canada, the buzz of, yes, even Panama, and yes, the Mexican national team will bring the good people out to SoFi. I'm expecting a good number of people. I'm expecting to see you there. And I don't know if you've ever seen the experience of USA Mexico in Los Angeles, but it doesn't matter if they're even playing against each other. You get the two fan bases near or around each other, and it's a celebration that it's a sight to be seen, I'll tell you that.
It's a Star Wars cantina with football being played at the same time, and I can't wait for it because this is a weird one, Herc. The Nations League. Look, it's a made-up tournament designed to fill a friendly window, add meaning to it, add commercial heft to it. But it's become important here in our soccer bubble. Well, a couple of reasons. Mostly because Greg Berhalter was addicted to winning it. And even when he was on his soccer sabbatical, we still won the thing. We've won all three of these things, which is emotionally deeply satisfying. Even though rationally we know empty calories, status-wise, I don't know where you put it. Is the Nations League essentially the bastard offspring between the Carabao Cup and the NFL Hall of Fame game? Where would you kind of put it? The Gasparilla Bowl.
You know what? You're not wrong on the importance in the grand scheme of things. Like, what does that trophy mean? Anthony Robbins said he wants to keep winning this until he gets tired of winning it. I'll tell you this. No World Cup qualifying is so massive in the importance of this tournament.
Exactly. Herco, this is the point. I mean, because we've automatically qualified for the World Cup, we do have so few competitive games. We got the Nations League and then the Gold Cup.
Yeah.
And then it's just a steady diet of friendlies until the big day of World Cup destiny. Mauricio Pochettino has to see his boys in competitive games. He has so few scant chances to do it. So how do you see it, Hercs? What are the stakes? How much does this actually matter in this moment?
It matters. And you can say what you will about the tournament. And listen, I'm one of those pundits, one of those people that say that the Nations League has taken so much away from world football, because I was from an era where my U.S. men's national team, we got to play Italy. We got to play Germany. We got to play the Netherlands. We got to play Belgium. We got to play Mexico. By the way, all in their countries, all in Europe or in South America or in Azteca. We got to do important things against important rivals that really battle hardened you for what was to come. The European Nations League, the Concacaf Nations League prevent this type of steel sharpening steel. Or iron sharpening iron, if you will. I'm sorry.
No, it is still sharpening steel. It's straight out of Game of Thrones, baby.
But it does prevent this, Raj. So when you have a limited amount of games that really matter, and I'm not talking matter because the opponent is big. I'm talking matter because you win or you go home, because fans are paying hard-earned money. It's not going to be cheap to go watch the U.S. men's national team. It's not going to be cheap to go watch Panama, Mexico, or Canada. Your fans are putting up hard-earned money to go watch you in a game that's supposed to mean something, for a trophy. When you have that on the line and you have nothing else on the line, you bet it matters. And if you're Mauricio Pochettino, this is the only time you actually get to say, here's my dry run. Because I don't even know if you're going to be able to say that come Gold Cup time. The Club World Cup being thrown into the Gold Cup at the same time throws a wrench in it. Not for most national teams, but I'll tell you what, it does for the U.S. men's national team, because you've got some players who their priority, because that's what FIFA is going to tell us, is the Club World Cup. So the Juventus players, or whatever other movements are made, Giovanni Reyna, if he stays at Dortmund, those players will have to go to the Club World Cup. They're not going to be at Gold Cup. So if you're Mauricio Pochettino, this may be the only time you're saying, well, as close to a full team as they may have, may be this Nations League.
But before we go any further, I need to say this MIB Vamos crossover is brought to you by our good friends at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Play $5, get $50 instantly when you use code MIB. Oh, Herco though. I filmed with Jesse Marsh last night. His Canada play Mexico on Thursday night. Also, that conversation will drop on Thursday. He said something funny. He said that when he was a pundit for last Nations League, he said he spent the whole broadcast saying how manufactured and stupid the Nations League is. And he said, now I'm a coach, I'm aware just how important it is on the inside. Which I think is beautiful and true and hilarious that Jesse Marsh, the coach, is calling out Jesse Marsh, the pundit. But this is where we are. So let's dive in. And I want to break down exactly where we are with our US men's national team. We are 449 days away as we tape from the Men's World Cup kicking off on these shores in 2026. I can't believe how quiet it is, how little talk there is about it, how little focus there is on our players who are still virtual unknowns. I spoke to somebody from England who spent the day walking around downtown New York City with a photo of Mauricio Pochettino on his phone, asking people if they knew who it was. He said he was shocked how few people knew, even who the US men's national team coach is. I was on a panel at a football conference in London a couple of weeks ago, and there was an argument about, is the United States a proper football nation or not? Will the World Cup 2026 make us one? By the way, I fully believe the latter. This can't be as good as it gets now. Just can't be. The level of hype, the level of interest, the level of Americans who know what our greatest challenge is within our national team. In England, everybody knows what the issues are. In America, we yearn for a day when more do. So first of all, Herc, big picture. You're in LA, game at SoFi. Great World Cup test for that venue and its new grass. Is this a moment we expect US soccer to show its true muscle, the weight class of the US fans who are interested coming to cheer our boys, compared to, say, the Mexican fans who will be coming in right after? Because I know that's been an issue, a desire, a dream.
There are two bars here, right? There's the ever reminder that the U.S. men's national team fan base isn't the Mexican national team fan base. And what I mean by that is they're not just going to buy whatever's out there. The Mexican fan base will sell this game out if it's against Cuba. The U.S. men's national team fan base, well, it's Panama. I'll maybe wait for the final. I'll wait to see if it's Mexico. I'll wait to see if it's Canada. Maybe I'm a little bit more inclined to buy if it's against Mexico, because this is a great rivalry. Maybe not so much against Canada. Maybe. I don't know. There's one layer to that off the field. I don't think the U.S. men's national team has proven to be that team in their own country, in this country, where they can sell out no matter what. I do really feel the opponent matters. The location matters. So if it's U.S.-Mexico in a final, yeah, that's going to be a sellout. How much of that will be pro-U.S. men's national team? That remains to be seen. Now, on the field, there are those who may not be convinced of this U.S. men's national team under Mauricio Pochettino. We have not seen whole hell of a lot under Mauricio Pochettino. Sure, there are these tactical nuances, Anthony Robinson, high and wide one game, Anthony Robinson tucked in as a central midfielder the next game. But what's the one game where Mauricio Pochettino has been with this team where you say, that's what I paid for. That's the $6 million man. You've not seen that as of yet. So this is a true test. It's a true test in a semifinal against a team that knocked you out of the Copa America. A team that humiliated you. A team that cost Greg Berhalter his job. And I'm sure this game is important for a few of those players. One of them being Timothy Weah. But if you're Mauricio Pochettino, you can't downplay the importance of this game. You can't downplay the importance of this tournament. Sooner rather than later, because I think the U.S. men's national team fan, the American fan, is sophisticated enough now to know what's good, to know what's not, to know what they should expect. And I think that's what they are with Mauricio Pochettino. They want to see what $6 million got him.
So this is full Poch, and I love that, man. It is his first real caliber of challenge as our manager. A lot of veterans in the squad. Let's talk about that squad. Some surprise snubs, which we'll get to. A lot of injuries. Unfortunately, Anthony Robinson, who you mentioned twice, to me, the best American player playing at the highest level with his club right now, just dropped out. Austin Trusty, Johnny Cardoso, also late scratches. But there's only one place that we can start right now when talking about the United States, and that is with Christian Pulisic, our Lord and Saviour. AC Milan's Lord and Saviour right now, in the form of his life, scoring, creative, hurting opponents at will from all angles, almost playing free from pressure, feeling loved, which is always so important for him. But on the US team, he'll want to carry through that form. He's occasionally playing in the US jersey, played almost as if he has a need to try too much. Occasionally, showing simmering signs of frustration with fellow players around him. I actually had the joy of seeing Clint Dempsey yesterday, and he talked about Christian as a kin of the best. He said the best mix of Landon and himself, a creator who can beat a man, but also a finisher. So what does Pochettino have to do to get the best out of our Gen 2, who I do believe is the best male player our nation's ever produced?
He just needs the accolades. I mean, right now he's the most accomplished club player that the U.S. men's national team has ever produced, that America's ever produced. That's a given right there. Will he be the best U.S. men's national team player when it's all said and done? Well, I'm going to give a lot of credit here to Landon, to Clint, to those OGs. Those guys did important things at the world stage. Unfortunately, Christian was robbed of his first World Cup, as a teenager, didn't get to go, got to go in Qatar, did very well, but you need more of those moments. You need more moments at the biggest of stages. Clint Dempsey had his Confederations Cup moment. Landon Donovan, and he also scored in every World Cup he played in. Landon Donovan was one of the best players in the 2002 World Cup, best young player of the tournament, scored a goal as a teenager. They had these massive moments on the world stage. He just needs more of those.
Did either of those two players testicle the ball in? Can you tell me what sacrifices did either of them make? By the way, Clint said something beautiful. He said that first goal that he ever scored in the World Cup against Ghana, he said it was one of the greatest moments of his career, because he said after that, everything was just felt like it was playing with house money.
Oh, yeah.
Having achieved that, which I just utterly adored. But to get the best out of Pulisic in the US system, what does Poch have to do?
Let him be. I think right now, Christian Pulisic is in a stage of his life where he feels comfortable in his own skin. And this is why he reminds me of Landon Donovan. It's not just about on the field. Landon needed to feel comfortable off the field, needed to be comfortable with himself. I see a lot of that in Christian Pulisic. And Christian Pulisic just wants to be. Christian Pulisic just wants the ball. He just wants to be happy. This is a game to him. For Christian Pulisic, it's not life or death. For Christian Pulisic, it's not I want to be the best in the world. He just wants to enjoy the game. And when you put him in a setting where he could just enjoy the game and be himself, he's going to be productive. I got Oliver Adam on my shirt right now.
Captain Tsubasa.
Okay, Oliver Adam, Captain Tsubasa. In Spanish, it's a massive show called Super Campeones that's been enjoyed for decades by millions and millions and millions of kids. That's who Christian Pulisic is right now. He's Oliver Adam. He can do no wrong for AC Milan. And he's done very little wrong for the U.S. men's national team. Just let him be. Just let him be. You got to put him in settings where he can be himself, to express himself. Because what Clint Dempsey's talking about, Landon Donovan, he's one of the few players that I've played with where he always does what he's supposed to do. If he was supposed to shoot, he would shoot. If he was supposed to dribble, he would dribble. If he was supposed to lay off and pass the ball, he would lay off and pass the ball. Clint Dempsey is the opposite. Clint Dempsey is like, Clint, why are you taking... Oh, that's why. Why would you shoot it? Oh, that's why. I'm open. Oh, he just scored a goal. The best of both worlds. He's right. Christian has that, but you need to let him express himself. You need to put him in settings where he will have the opportunity to express himself.
You know, yesterday was the 15th anniversary of Clint's goal that beat Juventus in the Europa League.
Oh, the chip.
From the ridiculous part of the field, like just on the cusp of the box, decided to chip the goalkeeper so deliciously. I was like, how did you know to do that? He goes, I'd just come back from injury. They hadn't started me. I was angry. I wanted to make a statement. He's like, 9 times out of 10, they don't go in, but he was so pissed off, he was going for it. That was utterly him living out what you've just said. Why are you doing? Oh, and it was a thing of beauty. But for Pulisic, what have you seen differently in Pochettino teams? What do you want to see? What's your biggest praise for Pochettino thus far? And what, if anything, would be your biggest question mark for the still nascent Pochettino era?
Okay, biggest praise would be we're starting to see tactical nuances to the team. And when you go from being a club manager to being an international manager, the most difficult thing about that would be the time you get to spend with the players to implement your style of play. Very quickly, in a very brief time, he got a player like Anthony Robinson, who I thought was in his infancy with the U.S. men's national team, very one-dimensional, to show nuance. And now Anthony Robinson is full of confidence, and I am full of praise for him. But you're starting to see him be a better, higher IQ player, showing more to his game. And with the national team, it took Mauricio Pochettino 2 windows to show us Anthony Robinson can play high and wide, and he can be an offensive force. And in the next window, Anthony Robinson has enough tactical IQ and nuance to his game to come centrally and be a defensive provider and an offensive facilitator. I thought that was brilliant how he got players to buy in very quickly. You got to give Pochettino credit for that. My worry for Mauricio Pochettino is I don't want him to see the U.S. men's national team as a pit stop. I don't want him to see the U.S. men's national team as right now for this moment. When I have seen Mauricio Pochettino, and I hope this is not the case, I hope Mauricio Pochettino, Matt Crocker, Oguchi Onweyu, I hope they are diligently working on the next phase of the U.S. men's national team, whether that is recruitment, whether that is player scouting, whatever it is to make this team better. But I've seen more of him at these YouTuber friendlies. I've seen more of him at the News Old Boys grounds and games than I have seen in the U.S. men's national team channels, in the U.S. soccer channels. Now, I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping he sees the United States as a place that he wants to live in, that he is living in, and that he is continuously advocating for. I want to see how serious this is for Mauricio Pochettino, because for the U.S. men's national team, for U.S. soccer, it's pretty damn serious. $6 million a year is pretty damn serious. The keys to the kingdom in what I would say is the most pivotal point in this country's game, the most pivotal point in the U.S., in the men's side, their game, the 2026 World Cup. You need somebody who is serious about it. I want to see that.
When he's at the YouTube thing, I do think he's trying to get Sinai Show Speed as a dual national. Get him over, join the player pool, baby. I was on a panel yesterday talking about the World Cup. One of the other panelists was asked what they thought about the US, and they said, we're very, very good, apart from 2 areas. Who's going to score the goals and who's going to save them? Which I'm not going to lie, stressed me the F out a little bit. Let's start with the battle to be America's next top number 9, which is, honestly, don't like to be hyperbolic. It's getting to borderline national emergency levels, man. We have so many injuries too. Ricardo Pepi, that beautiful human being, knee injury. Flo Balogun, our great hope, shoulder surgery. Hadji Wright, just back from injury. Hat-trick Hadji, did not make the squad. Some interesting selections, which we'll get to in a moment. But the headline really is, I think, Very much Josh Sargent's camp, right? Poch has refused to announce that he's the starter yet. I think he said it's just the Championship, Norwich City, where Josh plays, not the Premier League. But my God, the Ginger King has been banging in goal after goal in the second tier. I think 12 goals this season, 8 in 2025. Still so bloody young, Josh Sargent. He's got the demeanour of a long-term veteran. So many injuries, which have really made his international career stop-start. I think frustrating for him, frustrating for all of us. This is his moment, right, Herc? Is it just injuries that have prevented him from announcing himself as the man, or is it something else?
Well, it would be a disservice to the rest of the Nines if I just said it was just injury, because Josh Sargent has had his opportunities. Listen, he's going on 5 years without a goal at the international level. That doesn't just happen. I am a massive Josh Sargent fan. I have said many a times, I've gone on record that he is the most talented 9 in the pool. And what I mean by that is, if you had a cup for everything you were good at, technical ability, shooting, right foot, left foot, heading, IQ, movement, speed. If you had a cup and you had to fill it up with water, his cups would be more full than any other striker in this pool. But it's always something. He's injured. He's not fully fit. He comes in, he's at half gas. When he plays, he's had opportunities to score goals. He's not scored those goals. So it's a combination of all these things. And for me, I would love to see Josh Sargent take hold of this opportunity. Because if not now, when? There is no Ricardo Pepi. There is no Fowler and Balogun. There's not even a Haji Wright. You're the only 9. The 2 other 9s right now, Patrick Ajiman and Brian White, MLS players who don't have your pedigree right now, who haven't had that time under the sun with the U.S. men's national team. Brandon Vasquez, who went back to Austin in hopes of parlaying this into more U.S. men's national minutes, saw 2 other MLS players leapfrog him. So right now, it's just you. It's just Josh Sargent. If we don't see it now, when are we going to see it? That is my worry. But the tools are there. The toolkit, this kid's locker has it. This is his time to shine right now, and he's in unbelievable form. 8 goals in the last 8 games. I don't care what the level is. He didn't say that about the Major League Soccer players. He didn't mention, hey, it's just Major League Soccer. If you get an opportunity, you got to go out there and bury it.
Well, we do need to, you did brush over them, but they are both fascinating possibilities, both from MLS. Mm-hmm. The hand grenade, Patrick Ajiman from Charlotte, 29-year-old late bloomer. Brian White from Vancouver. Patrick in particular is an amazing story. Breakout season 2024. Gent is a unit, but he's a fast unit. And my God, he's done the hard yards. He's quite an inspiration. Born in East Hartford, Ghanaian parents, never played for an MLS academy. Actually played high school soccer. This is old school, this journey. Played Division III college soccer at Eastern Connecticut University. Ended up, I think, at Rhode Island. Was drafted 12th. By the great Charlotte FC in the 2023 MLS Super Draft. And against all the odds is now deservedly thriving, soaring, getting his USMNT call up. I really love him. He's the kind of human who looks like he wants to score every time he gets on the ball. Brian White, 29, getting a shot. I mean, he has walked a long road. Patrick's walked an unusual one. Which one do you expect to see the most minutes, and what should we expect?
I think because of his skill set, probably Patrick. I mean, when you have those physical qualities, when you're that physically imposing and you're that fast with that size, it's kind of hard not to see a moment where Mauricio Pochettino says, throw him on. He could be of good use to us. And I love the story as well. And I've played with a lot of guys from a similar background, and there's a necessity to their game. This isn't just about comfort. This isn't just about I like playing football, I like playing soccer. There's a necessity to that game that I think is going to do him well, serve him well. And I think he's bound for bigger things. I could see him being a player that goes abroad because of that skill set. But I don't discount Brian White at all. Brian White, and I hope people do not take this the wrong way because I love this individual, but he's the Vancouver Wondolowski, He's got that air of Wando about him. The late bloomer who's just a goal scorer. And for many years, Wando was the goal scorer in Major League Soccer. No American would even come close to it, or to him. Few foreign players could keep up with that goal scoring pace. That's Brian White right now. If there's one thing we know he can do, he can score goals. Now, if he gets an opportunity at the U.S. men's national team level, not the January camp level, the actual tournament level. Take advantage of it. Wando did, and he parlayed that into a World Cup appearance. Wando, in a Gold Cup, came on. I was part of that Gold Cup. And a few forwards were injured, took advantage of his opportunity, started scoring goals. He was the golden boot of that Gold Cup and parlayed that into a World Cup in Brazil, a World Cup appearance. Can Brian White do that as well? That's up to him. But these moments, it doesn't matter who's on the field, who's in camp, who's in your way, or who's not there, you have to take advantage of.
I love MLS one day. What a remarkable human being. USMNT one day. Still too soon, Herc. Still
yeah,
too
your
big.
face said it all.
I am genuinely shocked by how much that was just like a finger of history from the past jabbing me in the eye.
I love Wando, by the way. One of my favorite individuals. I'm just throwing that out there.
He is an amazing human being and I adore. I mean, he's a tenacious gentleman too. But Herc, question submitted from my friends at USMNT only. If every striker's healthy, who are your top 5 strikers in order?
Top 5? Ricardo Pepi, Fowler and Balogun, Josh Sargent. I'm going to give it to Haji. Just because Haji scored some big goals. Ding. Josh Sargent. And that leaves me with one more, right?
Yes.
This is going to rub some people the wrong way, and I'm not trying to take an out here, but it's Timothy Weah. I'm not trying to take an out. I'm not trying to not say Brandon Vasquez or not say Patrick Agiman or not say Brian White or not say Daryl Dike. I just think Timothy Weah would be ahead of those guys. I'm
going to go Joe Maximo. I don't know if he went by everybody healthy that you can exhume footballers from the past. In that case, obviously, it's Hercules Gomez or Edson Buddle.
Oh, Edson. Edson. The underrated story, Edson Buddle right there. That's Edson. Don't
get me off on the Edson Buddle, Jack. So just to recap, give us your strikers again. It's Pepe.
Yes. Pepe, Fowler and Balogun, Haji Wright, Josh Sargent, and then I go Timothy Weah.
Oh, that is Daryl DK erasure, and I will fight you for it when I see you in LA. To the midfield. Oh, it is so good to see Diego Luna in there. You had him as a guest on Vamos recently. Right after he gave a busted nostril for our nation. A real gent, a real baller from Real Salt Lake who has repeatedly been snubbed. Under Greg Berhalter and last year's Olympic team snub made him think very deeply about playing for Mexico. He rides with us. He's such a maverick talent. I do adore him. A call up too for Gio Reyna. Despite struggling for minutes at Dortmund, where he's gone really for main character energy. I was just watching footage of him and Haaland playing for Dortmund together. Those were golden days, where he's almost become an afterthought. And it's been fascinating hearing Pochettino talk about Gio. He acknowledged that Gio himself needs to improve. Quote, "Of course he can do better. We need to push him. It's true that maybe he's not playing too much, but I think for us, he's a great player. We want to consider him." Are you surprised Gio was called up? Where are we in Project Gio? And what's he's almost like a Stella that needs to get his groove back. How does that happen?
Well, Stella was in her 40s. Gio's still a young kid. That's the issue here. Like, what's going on? Because you mentioned Erling Haaland, and Gio Reyna. Raj, there was a moment in time where Erling Haaland, Jude Bellingham, and Gio Reyna were the crown jewels. And what happened to Gio? By the way,
Erling Haaland, his first interview on this show, what he wanted to talk about was Gio Reyna. It was almost like Man City.
The American dream, he would say. The American dream. I recall this. Like, Raj, take this with a grain of salt. People listening, take this with a grain of salt. It's Erling Haaland of what we know of Erling Haaland today and Jude Bellingham of what we know of Jude Bellingham today. But they were no different, no more, no less than Giovanni Reyna at that point in time. They saw him as a peer, as an equal. And to see now, here we are, 320 minutes, I believe, this season for Dortmund. And that's only because he started playing as of late. But it's rinse and repeat with Giovanni Reyna and Borussia Dortmund. At least this time he's not injured. But we need a Giovanni Reyna intervention right now with his career at the club level. At the national team level, you're damn right I want him on the team. You're damn right I expect him here. Giovanni Reyna is a big-time player. Giovanni Reyna is not ceiling when I talk about Final Four Gio Reyna. When I talk about finals, when I talk about important games for the national team, Giovanni Reyna, look at his production. Goals, assists, offensive productivity in the final third. Like, that's him. He is him when it comes to these games at the U.S. men's national team. So I'm not surprised he is here. It's not just about ceiling when it comes to these type of games. It's productivity. Haji Wright saved the U.S. men's national team against Jamaica. Do you remember who was the catalyst to that? Do you remember who gave him those assists? It was Giovanni Reyna. Against Mexico, do you remember who scored? It was Giovanni Reyna. You know, when they played against Canada in the final in the Nations League, do you remember who was a catalyst there? It's Giovanni Reyna. Gio is big time Gio in these type of games. So I'm not surprised he is here. I'm surprised how he got here.
May the United States, as it was really in the 90s for many of the players, may it be the happy place for Gio, where he really starts to draw his confidence and it refracts back to his club career. But anyway, I am so delirious to see my friend Tyler Adams back for the first time since pretty much destroying himself in the national disaster that was the Copa America March of Folly. Tyler currently killing it week in, week out at Bournemouth. Actually going to go over there in a couple of weeks, spend some time with him in person, and I can't wait. But for this US team, he's a monster on the field, and possibly even more importantly, a true leader off it. I can't describe the intangible he brings, lifting this squad, focusing them. Leadership is such a rare commodity on this team. It's why, by the way, people always ask, why is Tim Ream still playing when he's aged 87? A lot of the reason Tim Ream is still playing and earning that spot is because of the intense leadership that he brings across that squad. But I do want to know, there's a lot of players. Poch said it himself. Why didn't he bring Brendan Aronson? He said there's a lot of competition in that midfield. So what's your ideal midfield? Who would you want to start if you were Poch? He said he has so many options. If you were Poch, who'd you start? Who'd you leave out?
I think it's very telling that Mauricio Pochettino and the U.S. men's national team brass put out Yunus Musa as a winger and not a midfielder, as a forward and not a midfielder. That leads me to believe he's going to play wing and not midfield. So I don't think we're going to see MMA. I don't think we're going to see Tyler Adams, Yunus Musa, and Weston McKennie, which has always been my preferred midfield, if you will. Because of that, and because I think this is big-time Gio area, I think we're going to see Tyler Adams, and make no mistake, Mauricio Pochettino could say whatever he wants about Tyler Adams and improve himself. Tyler Adams will play. If he's healthy, he will be that guy. If he's healthy, he's going to be the captain of his team, I think. At least, in my eyes, he's the leader of this team. I don't even think Christian Pulisic wants that responsibility. I do know. It's not what I feel. I do know Tyler Adams wants that responsibility. So I think it's Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, and I'm going to go at the 10th spot, Giovanni Reyna. That would be my midfield. That's the midfield I would deploy, especially with what I think Yunus Musa will be. Either he's on the wing or he's coming off the bench. That would be the trident I play against Panama, where you're going to have the lion's share of the ball, where you're going to be, having them on their back foot. You're going to be more in their final third, swinging the ball across from left, across to right, where you're going to be trying to isolate players. I think a player like Giovanni Reyna in that midfield, in that 10 spots, would do you well.
Brendan Aronson, who I mentioned, was not the only surprise snub. The other one was Alejandro Zendejas, who is killing it at Club America and Liga MX. 5 goals and 5 assists, is it, so far? Question from a GFOP. Melissa Paz, who wrote to us at meninblazers@gmail.com. Rog and Herc. I'm a huge supporter of the US men's national team and the US women's national team. Unfortunately, my siblings and my mum are Mexican national team fans, so we usually clash when the two face off. More recently, I've been able to persuade my mum to root for the US men because we're also multi-generational Club America fans, and Alejandro Zendejas has been a beacon of light. Can you discuss what he needs to do to be called up more regularly? I'm an avid Vamos listener. Every week it seems like we're just talking about how Zendejas may be one of the best Liga MX players at this moment, but it seems like that's not cutting it for us to get him in the squad. I'll be at the game on Sunday. Hopefully I'll catch the United States lift up another Nations League trophy. Thank you, Melissa. Melissa, enjoy your football. Stay the course with your family. I know what it's like to be in a divided family myself. But Herc, how would you answer that?
That is so difficult. Melissa, thank you very much for the question. And I'm a huge Alejandro Zendejas supporter because I see week in, week out what he's done in Liga MX for a club like Club America, which is the most valuable club in, and I want to say, the Americas. It really is. River Plate, Boca Juniors, Club America right now is one, if not the most valuable club in the Americas. It's a sight to be seen. What he's done for Club America, he's been one of the pillars. There are 5 or 6 players who have really been pillars of their three-peat. 3 championships in a row. He's been one of those players. He will forever go down in folklore history of Club America. If he leaves today, he will leave one of the most successful and famous players that ever set foot in one of the most historic, like one of the most storied teams in this continent. That's how crazy it is. And it's not enough for him to be called up to the U.S. men's national team. Forget about starting 11. To be called up on the 23-man list of the U.S. men's national team with multiple injuries, Raj. Multiple injuries.
So what is that, Herc? What is it?
I don't know. Honest to God, I do not know, because Mauricio Pochettino brought him in, U.S. men's national team versus Mexico and Guadalajara, and praised him. And we saw off the bench, he was one of the few guys that brought a spark. And when he's played for him, he's played well. He got to see him up close. He also got to see Diego Luna, Brian White, Patrick Agiman, Jack McGlynn, Brian Gutierrez. He got to see these kids up close in a January camp and decided they were all better in a situation where you have guys like Ricardo Pepi, Fowler and Balogun, you have Austin Trusty, all these injuries coming about. Malik Tillman, he decided Alejandro Sendejas, who plays multiple positions and is in the form of his life, was not necessary. You have to respect Mauricio Pochettino and his decision-making there, but I also have to question it when I see a player in the form of his life who can't crack a 23-man list. I thought it made sense. Form, he can play as a double 6, as an 8. He can play out wide. He can play in the 10 role. And you've already seen him. It didn't make sense to me. So it's a hard one if you're Alejandro Sendejas to swallow, because you potentially could face Mexico. And here's the other one. Alejandro Sendejas chose the U.S. men's national team because he wanted to play with the U.S. men's national team. I think if he chooses the Mexican national team, he'd not only be part of that squad, he would be a starter and a star on that team. His life would have changed in a way that he could have never imagined, being a star for the Mexican national team in Mexico playing for Club America, but he wants the U.S. men's national team. He sees where his brothers, where his peers, like Christian Pulisic, Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Luca De La Torre, where they went. Kids that he played U17s with, where they went, that trajectory, and he wants it for himself, so he wants to be there. It's hard to say it's a mistake when he's never had his moment in the sun with the U.S. men's national team, but that's one that I didn't see coming.
Stay the course. We need to get that man back on Vamos, Herc. One quick question on the back line. No Serginho Dest, just coming back from long-term injury. Anthony Robertson out with a mystery knock. Would you be more interested in seeing Tim Weah play right back for the US men's national team, or in that attack for the US men's national team?
Ooh, I like what you did there, Raj. I like what you did there, because Joe Scally and Timothy Weah have a history of playing left back and right back. So maybe give a more defensive Joe Scally an opportunity at left back, and a ever overlapping and just high flying, always a threat from anywhere on the field, Timothy Weah an opportunity at right back. I think I would go with that. I really would. I think I would go with that. You just opened my eyes. It's something I didn't...
The Herc Rog interim US men's national team coaching job.
The Anthony Robinson news is it's fresh. I still haven't processed it. That's the one player I was most looking forward to. Like, I was just in England, had an opportunity to interview the guy for Football Americas, and I came away so impressed. I came away just so like, this is a grounded individual, and I hope the $50 million that Fulham is asking for him come about. I hope this happens. I hope it materializes, because he's not only in the form of his life, he seems like a stand-up guy. Like, amazing. I was looking forward to seeing Anthony Robinson play again. And this happens.
You cursed him, you mad bastard. Let's touch upon the goalkeepers. We're so used to dominant forces in this position. Here, Poch has declared, quote, open competition for the job between MLS's Patrick Schulte of Columbus, who was just on Vamos, what a gent, and Zach Stefanu, someone who I feel for. He suffered so much late in the last cycle. psychologically. They're battling my friend Matt Turner, Crystal Palace. What a gentleman, but seeing very, very, very few minutes. If the World Cup starts tomorrow, who's in goal?
I think it's Matt Turner. I really do. I think they'll go with Matt Turner, and Matt Turner being the shot stopper he is. He's done fairly well when called upon. And from what I've seen of Crystal Palace in the cup games that he's played, he's been good. But that's the thing. We only see Matt Turner in the occasional cup game highlight. You don't get to see him week in, week out. And I think Matt Turner knows that's a problem. And that's something he's got to fix heading into 2026 World Cup. Or he leaves that door open for Zach Steffen in the same way Zach Steffen left that door open for Matt Turner. And Matt Turner walked through it. Matt Turner kicked that door open. I think it's telling also that guys like Patrick Schulte are getting called in and not an Ethan Horvath. You know? Patrick Schulte, friend of the show, Vamos, and Zach Steffen, we've had them both on. He told me he spoke to Pochettino about re-signing with the Columbus Crew, and Pochettino was on board for it. And now we see Pochettino bring up these MLS players, so he doesn't care where you play. He just wants to see something out of you. So I think it's a massive benefit to Patrick because Patrick is playing under Wilfred Nancy, and you're only going to get better in that system. As exciting and as challenging as it can be for a goalkeeper, you're going to be busy, and he's been good. So I really think it's anybody's right now heading into 2026 World Cup. I'm not even discounting Zach Steffen. Zach said, I hope he remembers me from my time at City. He obviously did. And Zach is doing very well. You could probably make an argument he's the most informed goalkeeper right now of the three. But, you know, we've still not seen Zach Steffen for the U.S. men's national team in quite some time. So I do feel it's open.
The Zach Steffen redemption tour, got to say, got a lot of time for that, but Godspeed Matt Turner. I can't wait for this game, not only because of the United States team. I actually think the Panama are going to give us a stern test. Danish manager Thomas Christiansen, arguably one of the most tactically savvy minds in CONCACAF. This team will become a real collective. They are weakened too by notable absences of their own, particularly across the back line. Christensen prefers a kind of audacious positional game. I guess the question is, give us a blast on Panama. Will he stick to that approach, particularly with all the players that are out, or will he temper ambition with a heavy dose of practical reality?
I don't think he can go anywhere else but what he knows. And he's got a few issues in the back line. Bacernas, his captain, isn't going to be playing. Adalberto Carrasquilla, who was ex-Houston Dynamo player, he's now at UNAM at Pumas. They've been very bad. They've new coach right now in Efrain Juarez. Carrasquilla has been Jekyll and Hyde. He's had some very big moments, and he's had some other moments where he's one of the rest on a pretty bad Pumas team. So that form is going to be relative there. But for Thomas Christensen, I heard some comments where he's like, we can no longer aspire to just be fourth in this tournament because that's what they've been. It's going to be difficult to aspire to be anything else with that player pool. And I say this respectfully, I think he's done wonders. They've overtaken Costa Rica for the time being because I do think there's a Costa Rican resurgence with this generational shift. And Miguel Herrera, for the time being, they have overtaken Costa Rica as that fourth team in CONCACAF. But with that player pool, you're really just hoping there's a bad day at the office for the U.S. men's national team, like at Copa America. There's a red card to a player and you take advantage of it, like Copa America. Something happens in a bad day against the Mexican national team and you take advantage of it. Canada as well. I do feel with that player pool, there's only so much you can do to punch above your weight, which he has been doing. You have to give Thomas Christian credit, but they're in a disadvantaged situation right now with the players that they have at the moment.
I gotta say, Thomas Christensen, at least he was honest. He said he'd bite your arm off for a 0-0 draw and penalties. I crap you not. Prediction time, Herc. What are we going to see on Thursday? Other than me, several Michelob Ultras deep before kick-off at SoFi. Did I say I'm quite excited? What does Hercadamus see?
Oh, you got to come find me. I'll be at SoFi as well. Bring me an Ultra. I see typical pro performance from the U.S. men's national team. Will be a slow start. I think they get their goal. It'll be a 2-0 U.S. men's national team. As late in the game, they'll probably get the second. I don't think they'll have too many problems, and they'll take care of Panama.
God bless. Bring it on. I think the United States are going to do it. I got to see a Tim Weah banger. Pulisic gets a goal, and I'm rooting for Patrick Ojiman 3-1.
This could get ugly. Man, I really think Canada just presents a difficult type of opponent for the Mexican national team right now, and the physicality, how dynamic they are, their speed, the press. I think it's going to be 3-1 Canada. I really think this could be ugly.
Canada, USA 2, Electric Boogaloo, Four Nations Face Off, the sequel, Herc, which begets a serious question. I actually talked to Jesse Marsh about this last night. We should brace ourselves, right? International football, the joy of it is that it's a mirror to the geopolitical realities that surround it. I mean, that's what it always was. That's why, for instance, France-Germany always has spice. Germany against any European team. It's why when Ukraine play in the here and now, it is so unbelievably moving. But there is going to be an element of the chaos of the world, our region, playing into this football to come. Our team, our players, our boys are going to be sucked into it all. You've represented your country as a player, and I do wonder how you've experienced these things manifest on the field. It's not as if, say, Chris Richards and Alphonso Davies are going to take the field being like, you want a tariff war? I'll give you a tariff war. So how does this all play into player psyches? Is it the media build-up? Is it the fans? How do these issues bleed onto the field?
They do bleed onto the field, because if you talk to players of the 90s for the U.S. men's national team, they'll talk about the game versus Iran. I recall still being an active player, and at the time working for Fox, and going to World Cup qualifier in Columbus shortly after the 2016 election, and it was Mexico versus the U.S. in Columbus. And there was a moment that I will never forget where both teams came together and they took a picture, and it was one Mexican player, one American player, one Mexican player, one American player, and they were hugging and in arms and in a show of solidarity to what we should be. The U.S. is going to have it coming from both sides, regardless of who they face if they advance. That's the world we live in today. I hope they show the same solidarity on the field and understand that this stays on the field. Understand that regardless of your political belief, regardless of what you feel or what your president stands for, you can overcome those things and keep it on the field. It's very difficult to do. Not everybody can have that master class at it. Tyler Adams showed us exactly how to diffuse a situation in Qatar. Not everybody has that about them. It's going to be difficult.
I keep thinking back to that Tyler Adams moment in Qatar where he kind of, with incredibly diplomatic nuances, completely and utterly parried Iranian journalist attempts to humiliate him and the nation. To that spirit, to more. And in that regard, last question for you. We are 449 days out from the World Cup. I said up top, no one's talking about it. No one knows these players outside of our glorious soccer bubble. Christian maybe is a name that's bandied about. Should we be worried? Or I guess positively, what should we who love football be doing to change that and help get America hyped?
Well, yeah, we should always be worried. Many of us had said this is going to be the most important moment in the game's history, certainly since 1994, and that spawned, the birth of a domestic league. What can this do? You should be worried. If you're a fan of the game, you should do whatever you can to spread the love of the game, to get others involved. It's much more than a moment in time. And as Americans, we always fall into this trap of the Olympics. We only cheer for the Americans every 4 years. We only cheer when it's there or when they're doing well. Well, you got to get behind your country with this World Cup way before just the World Cup. The whole lead up, the process to it is fundamental. It's important. I don't know what else you can do but get out there and, support, get out there and spread the news. We're trying to do our part here. They need to do their part as well. And I mean the fans, those lovers of the game.
Oh, and the starts with the players, please God, winning tomorrow. That is it, Los Angeles. I will fly out to see the glory with my own eyes. If you're going to the game, watch out for us. I can't wait to see you. Give you all a hug animal style. God bless the culture of Los Angeles football. Such an important city for the United States at the World Cup. I can't wait to be there and revel in it all Concacaf style. I'll give you the biggest hug of all, Herco. Big, big love until then, man. Thank you.
Love, Raj. Appreciate you.
Go USA and courage.